This is probably a little controversial, but I don't think the basis of a marriage is love. I think the basis of a marriage is good marital operations.
समझ रहे हो? समझ रहे हो आप?
Priyanka Bharadwaj, why are arranged marriages uncool for so many people?
That's a very good question because just yesterday I was watching one of my all-time favorite movies. It's called a.k.a. Probably you're too young for the movie, but it was a movie that defined love and marriage and everything for like our gen because it came out literally, I think it came out in 2000 and it's love marriage in the movie, right? So I feel like that was the era of love marriages being shown in movies and glorification of how you fall in love and you get married to this person that I think somehow makes anything else look uncool. Arranged marriages as a function of not being love marriage is considered uncool. But otherwise, I think there's nothing wrong with arranged marriages. Like the way I look at it, they're just two sourcing strategies, somehow one of them being overly glorified.
You agree that we have glorified and romanticized the idea of love marriage?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look at it, it's just literally how you source your life partner. One, you don't really think about the intention, they're your friend or you like them, whatever, and then you choose to get married to them. The other is you have an intention of marrying this person and then you're exploring a bunch of people and then you get married. Literally just two sourcing strategies. But somehow arranged marriages seem uncool only because love marriages are cool.
Right.
And arranged marriages seem like the opposite of love marriages. I think fundamentally there's nothing wrong with arranged marriage. I'll tell you why I think love marriages somehow seem like the cooler NRI cousin of arranged marriages.
Because that's exactly what it is. It is the cooler version of a marriage.
Yeah. Right. Okay. I think for a few reasons. One, love marriages are generally glorified in media, movies, stories, just generally, right? Like I don't know what are like the latest like cool movies or like movies that you watched as a teenager where love marriage was sort of glorified. At least we had a bunch that somehow just really glorified like love marriage, right? That's number one. The second thing is there's a little bit of sort of fluidity and ambiguity around what can happen in a love marriage. You don't really know what the end outcome is going to be when you hang out with somebody. And that is not there in arranged marriages. So that definite outcome that is expected in an arranged marriage somehow makes it less interesting, less exciting. And the third one, obviously, the family and parental involvement. You're a fully grown adult is one of the first decisions you will make as a fully grown adult. And if your parents are still hanging around you, helping you make that decision, it just somehow feels like it's not cool.
I want to pursue two definitions of arranged marriages here because I feel like we're shown only one of them. But there are two distinctive types, even in arranged marriages. The first one is exactly what we just spoke about, the most commonly understood definition that you're introduced to somebody with the sole purpose of ending up with them. And that takes out of equation the fluidity, the dynamics, every aspect of randomness is removed from the equation. And it feels too rehearsed, that you're supposed to have this courtship period, you're supposed to get to know the other person, and then you, bam, 6 months later, you're ending up together. But the other version of arranged marriages is that arranged marriage is just a construct to filter family backgrounds. For a lot of people, arranged marriages could just be bumping into somebody where families already know each other, where families already get along, where the person is exciting, the person is lovely, you get to have every aspect of randomness just the way you do in a love marriage. But the only difference is that two families know each other and you know what the other family is like, where they've come from, have you had a similar brought up, and every other choice is down to the two people involved. Not the families don't interfere at all. It's just a family background filter. That's it. This is the part we don't get to hear about a lot.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, like traditionally, marriages were literally business transactions to make sure wealth stays within a trusted known network, right? Like marriages weren't really a thing that common people sort of did, right? It was traditionally for royalty, for kings, to make sure that your empire is sort of growing or is put in trusted hands in some sense. So obviously there was a lot of vetting, there was a lot of scrutiny that went into who you were marrying into and the wealth of the family and the values of the family or the ambitions of the family and so on. I think it was only much later that marriages became available to more common people. And so that whole tradition of vetting who you were marrying in terms of your family background, wealth, culture, social status, etc., just carried forward. Which is why arranged marriages are arranged marriages, because you took care of a lot of arrangements before you actually got married, right? Love marriage is a newer sort of variant, because I don't think people who fell in love really had the compulsion to be married. If you look at a lot of mythology, historical stories, there are instances of people, falling in love or like consummating their relationships and, being with each other, but there's not necessarily a marriage or a legal binding sort of construct to these stories, right? It's much more new age, right? In fact, I must tell you that this whole love marriage, arranged marriage thing is a very Indian, Asian, and maybe a few other like sort of countries that have this, because nowhere else in the world will someone ask you, oh, did you have a love marriage or an arranged marriage?
Correct.
It's like a very typical Indian, South Asian sort of question.
It sounds to me, from the traditional understanding of what arranged marriages are to what it is today, that arranged marriages just make ending up with the right person more convenient. So love marriages
sure,
are more inconvenient versus arranged marriages being convenient. But you still have to end up with a person you love.
I don't really agree with that. This is probably a little controversial, but I don't think the basis of a marriage is love. I think the basis of a marriage is good marital operations.
Okay.
Love is probably just a happy side effect of that. I'm not saying that, you could exist without love, but I don't think it's a precursor for you to marry anybody, because you get married to somebody in, let's say, your 20s, and this is based on your worldview as a 20 something year old. You have no idea what life's going to be like in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. How can you possibly optimize for any of this? You will change as a person, the other person will change, your relationship will change, the world will change. Like, how can you say that you will love this person in all circumstances right now in this very instant? It almost sounds foolish to say something like that.
Right.
But if you know that the two of you together will make a good team, to be able to navigate a diverse set of circumstances together, that is probably a prerequisite for getting into any sort of partnership. Does that make sense?
Of course it makes sense. And this is the only bit that is popularly ignored in a love marriage, I feel. The marital operations bit of it. Because when you're in love, or at least that's what people say, when you're in love, everything seems okay. But you can also fall out of love in a long enough time span. Like if you're seeing 30, 40 years of your life with one person, it's not love that drives those many years together. A lot of it is, like you said, a good marital relationship. With a lot of people going in for a love marriage, that boring aspect of how you will manage your finances, how you will get along with two families, these are the boring aspects that don't get as much importance.
I just want to be very clear that for me, it doesn't make a difference as to how you meet your partner, because I don't think how you meet your partner has any bearing on the quality of relationship you will lead. You could be in love, and that's a fair enough proxy to say, hey, I think we'll make a good team because we seem to get along with each other. We seem to be able to tolerate and love each other despite our flaws. So I think this is a good enough proxy for us to jump in and take the leap. Right? Love is as good a proxy as anything else, right? Imagine saying, oh, okay, we both are from the same subcaste, from the same colony, from the same main road. So I think we will be able to battle anything in this world. Sounds a little stupid.
Yeah. Right? Same pin code does not equal same values.
Yeah. Well, on the other hand, if you say, hey, we're in love with each other, we've been able to tolerate each other for like the last 6 months or 1 year or whatever, That's as good a proxy as saying, hey, we lived on the same street for 10 years. I think we'll be able to live here for another 20 years.
Makes sense.
So I think people usually are just trying to find proxies because it's a huge gamble that you're making in terms of choosing who you want to be with. So whatever proxy works for you. So when someone asks me, hey, what do you think I should go for, love marriage or arranged marriage? I just have one thing to say. Boss, if there's someone you love and they love you back, go for it. Like you're asking me like as if my answer is going to change your life tomorrow.
Again, another controversial question to ask. People watching this may call me out for this, but for a lot of people, you can only pick so many battles in life. Okay. Whether it's your career, it's your partner, life partner, whether it's your family, whether it's a purpose larger than your own life. But there's only so many battles you can pick, not every single battle. And do you think many people are falling into the trap of, I need to pick my own life partner because that is literally the only thing I have control over in my life? I don't have any other battles to fight. I have no idea where I'm going with my career. I don't really know if I want to be with my family. I don't know what my purpose is in life, but I am going to spend this time on earth with another person. So I might want to just control that. Growing up, I was told, you need to be ambitious. You need to think big. Whether or not you will achieve those goals and dreams in life is a different thing. Like when I speak to peers, people who are my age, and I say, what is the one thing you're chasing in life? I'm often ridiculed for being overly philosophical. Hey man, come on, we're just having dinner. Don't bring up a downer of a question. But does this represent something larger that people don't want to think about? What is the one thing they've been put on this earth for? Is it too big of a question, too painful of a question? So you're just managing these micro goals and micro targets, and is picking your life partner disguising itself as a micro target when it isn't actually one. It's actually a big, big part of how happy you will be in your life.
True. It is a very big decision that has a large repercussion on your life for the rest of your life, right? And I think because it is such a big decision, I feel like people, especially in their 20s, are too afraid to make that decision.
Are they?
I think they're very afraid to make that decision. I'll
Okay.
tell you why. And I don't know if I answered the question that you were actually asking, right? The reason why I think people are afraid to make this decision in their 20s, and this generation especially, is we're too used to short term gratification, small or micro goals, like you said. You start a YouTube channel today and you'd like to get to 1,000 subscribers in 1 month or 2 months.
Yeah.
And you get there, and some people get there, you see that, right? Then you say, okay, I get to 1 million in like a year or like some such thing. And you see that happen for certain people. And you think that that's how you can live your life. You take a target, and that target's supposed to be achieved in a short, finite amount of time. Whereas marrying somebody is a long term game. You're not going to achieve anything in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever. Entering into a game like that, people don't really know what to do with that, especially people in their 20s now, and teenagers have no idea how to play a long-term game. It's daunting, right? Like I actually had a conversation with someone recently, 25-year-old. It was like, my parents are talking to me about getting married because, just finished grad school, got a job, about to start my first job post grad school. They're like, okay, you should start thinking because it's going to take a couple of years to find somebody. And he's like, it sounds insane. No one's thinking about these things like among my friend circle. It's like, it feels way too early. I was like, why is that? Like, is that because you're placing so much emphasis on this decision? He was like, no, not really. I'm 25. I could start dating, but then it's just dating. I'm not going to feel daunted by that decision. So you're telling me that you're okay dating anybody right now? Or is there still a voice in the corner of your head somewhere saying, could this be someone I end up with in the next 5 years? It's like, yeah, it's there. I was like, might as well just face it because your parents are right. If you do want to get married in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you might want to start investing now.
That's
and
true.
People don't like to hear that. I mean, even I don't like to hear that my parents are right. So
But what if, just like your friend who's 25 years old, who said, I'm just out of grad school, not looking for anything serious right now. I just want to date a little bit and find out what my type of person is. And people take that maybe a little too lightly, where they get through a series of relationships, finding out what they don't like, relationship after relationship. And then they end up at 28, 29, knowing that, okay, this is who I am, and this is what I like, and this is the sort of person I want in my life. But they've been through a string of relationships that they've ended because they didn't go well, that now you have a mindset that if you don't like something, snap, you're out of it. You can get out of it. I'm too good for some relationships. If it's not working, it's not working. Let's end it. So somebody on social media said this. Again, social media, bad place to derive information from. But somebody on social media said, breaking up too frequently is like practicing divorce. Can a person who's been through a string of relationships, who's looking now to settle down and find a life partner, does this string of relationships translate into easy getting out of things you don't like?
I don't have a scientific explanation for it, but just anecdotally based on the conversations I've had with people, I can tell you this. I feel like there is an optimal number of experiences that one must have, and it's a fine balance to learn a little bit about yourself, but to then be able to apply it into a real long-term relationship. But if you cross that point, I think it becomes very hard for you to make a choice and stick with it. I strongly believe that people should date and experience relationships and be in relationships. Wonderful if the first person that you choose to be with is somebody that you feel so comfortable that you're okay making a decision to spend the rest of your life with them. If that doesn't happen, 3, 4 relationships later, you settle down, that's fine too. But I feel like the aim is to be able to be with someone. The aim is not to learn about yourself. You can't use people to learn about yourself through dating.